Guys, Bitcoin is right now trading in this descending wedge after finding major support here on, of course, the $59,000 to $60,000 region, which has been acting as previous support also on that big move down which we had after breaking down from this bear flag pattern. Found support here at $59,000. Also, that's the level here, of course, as I said, once we broke down, found support again, and right now trading alongside this line. And yesterday I was very bearish, and just to be clear, I'm bearish overall long term on Bitcoin in terms of until October, because of course we're in a bear market, right? And in a bear market, usually the bear market lasts for 12 months. So from the top to the bottom of the bear market, 365 days. And this happened the last couple of times. If it happens again, we'll have the bottom of the bear market in October. And until then, just to be clear, I am bearish. But for the immediate short term, I think there is a likelihood that we can see a bounce here to the upside, especially now that we are really not going below, and the bears are really trying to push Bitcoin below this $59,000 region. And the more often we find support from here, the more likely for me it is that we actually find a bounce and go to the upside. And if we draw this pattern here as a descending wedge pattern, the dotted lines, if you look at these, of course, that is a bullish pattern. And it is not the most perfect pattern. I mean, you can see we're trading here somewhat like this, but it is, of course, an bullish pattern if it's descending, and an ascending wedge is, of course, as we know, a bearish pattern. So right now we're creating this descending wedge pattern. What I want to be looking at is, of course, the liquidation levels. And I can see here on the 2 weekly, I can see that most of the liquidity actually lies above us. We have big liquidation clusters above the current price. Yes, we have one also forming below us at $58,000, but the majority is above us. And just to make this very clear here right now, if you look at the liquidation heat map, so not the heat map, this is of course the heat map which we just looked at. This is just the liquidation map on the 90-day cumulative liquidation. We can see that we have $7.2 billion cumulative short liquidation leverage. So this is everyone who's shorting Bitcoin right now. And of course, many people are shorting on the last move. People are shorting Bitcoin, and the more people are shorting, the more liquidity is being built up to the upside above our current price. If you can see all of this right here, this makes me also believe that we're gonna go up there and grab the liquidity. We can see a big cluster of liquidity here at $63,000, also a big cluster here at $62,000, and these are exactly what we can see right here, 62,000, 63,000, and it makes me believe that we can see a bounce back up towards these levels. I'm not certain if we can go all the way to like 67 where we got previously rejected from, but at least if we hit these levels up to like here, $63.4 thousand, I think that could be a good entry short position to be shorting Bitcoin from. And also looking at the ETF flows, I mean, they were very negative. These are the monthly ETF flows, and we can see we're almost like, what is it, maybe $4.8 billion of ETF outflows for the month of June alone. And that is, of course, tremendous, large amounts. And I think after that move to the upside, I do expect us to break down to the downside, continue the pattern. And I want to show you guys the pattern here quickly. So this is the last bull market and the bear market, and this is the current cycle, right? And we can have the Fibonacci extension lines from the bottom of the cycle to the top of the cycle. I drew them out here, and we can see big similarities. The Fibonacci golden pocket, which we're just approaching right now, we are most likely going to break below that. And if you look at what happened last cycle, we broke below that, and then we found support all the way at the 0.786 level. If the same thing happens, it would bring us all the way to like $40,000. And you can see right now, we are pretty much at a very similar level as we were last time. We might see a small bounce to the upside, but I expect us to eventually break down and play out very similar to what we did last cycle. Now, I also want to show you guys here on the weekly chart, if I show you guys, if we break to the downside, well, where can we potentially be going here? Let me show this on the daily. If we break to the downside and zoom out a bit, I think we could potentially go to around the low 50s, to this level that I marked. And let me also add the volume profile. This is showing us where is a lot of volume activity going on. And you can see if I draw it all the way to here, that here there's let me draw it like this. You can see a small spike in volume here. And it's of course because there was some trading activity going on around here, especially at around this level. This is the low 50s. We also would find some support here at this wick, and it's just below this wick which we created in 2024. So I think once we break to the downside, we can go here to the 52 $2,000 region approximately, which is also just below the golden pocket for Bitcoin. Once you break down there, I think we can find some support around this level. Now, also just to show this to you guys on the weekly chart, if I show you guys on the weekly the moving averages, and here we can see right now we are just finding support from the 200 weekly. Actually, we broke down last week, we closed below that, which makes me believe we're gonna go further down. But given the liquidations, which I just shown to you guys, all of the short liquidations above us, all of that liquidity above us, I think we can have one last bounce to the upside, grab that liquidity, make the market make us happy, and then we're gonna move down. Because if you look at last cycle, we actually found a bottom all the way at the 350 simple weekly moving average line. The cycle before that, we bounced at the 200. Then in the COVID crash, we went to the 300 weekly moving average. So I believe we're gonna find a bottom somewhere also in this region here for Bitcoin, of course. And next thing I want to show you guys is on the monthly returns for Bitcoin. June is right now negative 18% down, so almost 20% down. If we look at July, however, especially in a bear market, so let's go to the bear market year last time, so that's 4 years ago. We know that the bear market is always every 4 years, the Bitcoin cycle is every 4 years, or 210,000 Bitcoin blocks that are being mined by miners. Whenever that happens, the reward for miners is cut in half. The miners get half the amount of Bitcoins for each block that is being mined, and that classifies, of course, the halving, and that is when we have the new cycles, and that's why we have 4-year cycles, because it takes approximately 4 years to mine 210,000 Bitcoin. So if we go back 4 years to 2022, we can see July was very positive. We go 4 years back again to 2018, we can see also July was 20% positive. Yes, 4 years ago, before that, 24, if you go back 4 years, also actually very positive. So 2014, slightly negative here. So it is not a given, of course, that July is positive. We can't say that, but let's see what happens. However, if you look at August 2022, so the last bear market, negative 14% almost. If we go to 2018, negative 9%, and also here 2014, negative 17%. So I do expect us to have a negative July, have that big move to the downside, another big move to the downside in July, and find that bottom for Bitcoin somewhere in October, like I already said here. If we look, of course, at the time it takes from the top to the bottom, it will bring us to approximately Q4 2026 to October. And finally, Ethereum is set to close 3 consecutive quarters in a red, which would be a brand new historic event, right? So Ethereum, I think, just personally can go to approximately $1,000, and also I would be buying it when Bitcoin finds a bottom, because if Bitcoin goes down, most likely Ethereum and all the other altcoins will also go to the downside. And with that being said, I really want to see if we see that bounce to the upside. If we do, I'm going to enter some short positions and write this down along the way, and hopefully we break this big level of support at $59,000. If you enjoyed that video, let me know. If you watch the football, FIFA, also let me know who you support. And with that being said, see you tomorrow, and bye.